In today's rundown, we are talking about the billionaire space race, how viable is this space tourism business model, and what is actually the new status symbol for extreme wealth? Is it a trip to space? It is Monday, July 12th. This is the Piper Rundown. We analyze business and culture to help you win. Today's rundown is presented by JetStore. JetStore has been providing affordable, reliable, and easy to manage data storage and cloud solutions to over 4,000 customers worldwide for more than 26 years. JetStore offers storage systems for private cloud hosting, video surveillance, Internet of Things, AI, machine learning, edge computing, data archiving, HPC, media production, medical imaging, and flight simulations. We're going to be talking about quite a few things.
They're going to have to start adding space flight simulations.
Absolutely. For more details, visit jetstore.com. Thank you for sponsoring the rundown.
Over the weekend, billionaire Richard Branson of the Virgin series of brands became the first billionaire in space. Fired up about it?
So fired up.
Okay. Spent 15 minutes in a state of weightlessness as the capsule departed from the rocket that launched it up into the outer atmosphere. I can't quite perfectly define what makes it space and what makes it not
There's
space.
like some sort of border. You just don't know when, you cross that line.
Well, he beat his fellow billionaire Jeffy B by about 10 days. Blue Origin, the company that Jeff Bezos has seeded, is expected to take Jeff to space on July 20th. And so what we want to do in this video is break down a series of questions about billionaires going to space, space tourism, and all that. My starting question for you, Hannah, is this a good business? I'm going to give you some stats specifically. We can agree that SpaceX is a good business.
Sure.
SpaceX has transcended Northrop Grumman and some of these other companies that sell into governments to be able to launch rockets to space. They are more efficient. They reuse the rockets. They are leading it specifically at that technology.
Yeah.
Virgin Galactic, though, which SPAC'd with the SPAC king Chamath Palihapitiya, is predicated on this concept of space tourism.
Right.
And as of right now, what it's been listed at is a $250,000 ticket to space for this trip, similar to what Richard Branson took. $250,000. So right off the bat, 99% of humans on Earth are not going to be able to afford a trip like this.
Right.
Now, granted, if they get better at it, like I can see the cost coming down somewhat, but there's also like a harsh reality. Like we're not talking about like scooters and electric cars here. This is the insurance, the fuel, the engineering talent required to get this thing going is going to be really substantial. And
it's the most intensively operation backed 15 minutes and the most expensive that you could probably ever experience.
I can't fathom in 2030 this being something that is affordable to anyone other than the top 1% to 3% of wealth holders.
I would agree.
Right? So already it's a constrained market. Then here's the thing that I can't get over. So you're rich.
I'm not, but yes. If
you can buy this ticket, you're rich.
Yes.
I don't think that rich people are the ones doing bungee jumping and base jumping and parachuting and all these daredevil activities. There's a portion that do. But to me, there's a portion of the people that are wealthy that say, I made it. I don't...
And
I'm not going to risk what I've
stuff can actually go awry if I put myself at risk or
to me, it's usually the young people who are like nomads who are like, oh, I'm just going to go for it, right? You don't see the people that have made it. And also in particular, it's older folks. So Richard Branson's pretty old, so you can be older and still go to space. Sure. But the harshness on the body, it's not a trivial thing.
Right.
The physical risk here and the inaccessible of the cost, I do not understand how this is some sort of really profitable thing anytime in the near future.
It's not. But I feel like that's Richard Branson's whole thing. That's why Virgin Galactic is the first here, because he's just a character that, let's go for it. He's like you know what I mean?
He's done stunts with the hot air balloons and all that stuff. But here's the thing, like I've read his biography. You look at everything else. The reason that his airline was so viable is that British Airways was overcharging everyone for very inexpensive flights. And so he came in and was like, there's a cheaper way to do this that we know that there's demand. Same thing with mobile. Same thing with so many of the other businesses he's gotten into. He said, we can do this better at a better price. It's definitely a better price because otherwise it was literally inaccessible. Like I get that, but I really don't even feel much of a desire to go do that now.
Yeah.
And I don't see my desire to go to space like that climbing.
Yeah.
I feel like as time goes by, I'm going to kind of, maybe there's some point where you're like, fuck it, like, let's just go.
But you're just generally out on space.
I just, like, I don't think that is something that there's like an inherent, like, yes. Yeah. Like if you were socially with your friends, like, would you go to space right now? Would you go to space right now? Would you go to space right now? I do not think you'd have a majority yes.
I would agree with you, but I think this is such a novel thing that, okay, so you know how any professional sports team that wins, like, goes to the White House after the championship.
Yeah.
Like, what if they just went to space?
And there's no physical peril, though. That the physical peril is
but if it's proven to be, safe and
we're a long ways away from that, though. Like think about how many like flights like crashed in like the early days of planes, right?
It is scary.
So that brings me to my next question. What are we gonna do when the first private plane, private space flight crashes? Because that's going to happen. Yeah. We're not gonna bat 1,000 here.
Right. I can't even imagine. It's gonna send shockwaves throughout the world. But like, how? I don't know how you can justify that going forward. Like, you can't.
You're saying they're gonna stop taking flights, or you're saying you can't justify slowing down?
They're gonna stop taking flights for at least a time period. Like,
well, yeah, everyone's gonna be like, freaked out and media sensationalized all that stuff. So my framework is this. I'm glad that people are doing it. I think all the regulation has to be about the people who've chosen not to fly. So like you cannot crash your thing like into a city or like into whatever. You have to be taking your flights off in a way that's safe to the people who've chosen not to be lunatics, right? But if you pay $250,000 to get on a rocket, you're going in eyes wide open.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not a tragedy if people die, but the choice to take that trip, to me, that's almost like Evel Knievel, like, jumping 10 trucks and then breaking his leg. It's like, well, what did you expect to happen?
Yeah. That's
like, did that not cross your mind that could occur?
That's so fair.
So no regulation of these of the people going up. All the regulation over like, don't fucking fly that shit over our city centers.
Yeah.
Which is probably already the case. I'm not an expert on space regulation, but like, I think that's a reasonable position.
Yeah. Even like the term space regulation is kind of absurd. Like, how is that even a thing?
Cool.
Yeah.
Market caps. We don't know Blue Origin's. SpaceX as of February 2021, 74 billion. Virgin Galactic as of Friday, this happened over the weekend, 11.8 billion. Certainly, given the fact that it was successful, all this positive media, we'll see that climb upwards. That's a short-term, not a long-term thing. Not financial advice. Chill the F out. Space Renaissance. Do you buy it? In the 2020s, I think that there's 3 things that will be sold as being like on the come up. Arguably 4, but the fourth one is kind of like, I'll say the first one. Machine learning, AI, like I just feel like that's kind of like a constant stream forward. It's almost like electrification, which is getting injected into more things. I feel like that was already happening and just going to continue to accelerate. Okay. But crypto, bio, space, I think are the big 3 for the 2020s. More and more people owning cryptocurrency. We've discussed all that. Biology, the mRNA, all these different like breaking biotech type of companies going to change the way we think about health. Space Renaissance. There are launch companies, Astra, Rocket Lab USA. There's space infrastructure like Redwire. There are satellite service firms, Black Sky, Spire. more and more of these things popping up because of the cost of the rocket technology and to some degree the formalization of that becoming much more accessible.
Right.
And space manufacturing, that's another thing that mostly private companies are still working on. But like I've listened to different founders basically saying like, we're gonna send a rocket up to space per day, just us as a single company, in order to manufacture things up there that will be less expensive to manufacture and less like environmentally harmful than doing it here on Earth. Does that gas you up?
I don't know if it gasses me up necessarily. I just like, if you have the means to do that, then like, great. If it's better for us here on Earth, if it's better for the environment generally, like fantastic. But again, there's such a small percentage of people who are actually able to do that, that it's all, to me, it's all just overhyped a little bit.
Okay. So next thing, I want the hierarchy of rich people, rich guy status, right? So after you get a certain amount of wealth, you're financially independent, you're post-economic.
Right.
You're trying to figure out how to signal to people how much money you have or how stupendous you are.
Yeah.
So I would say that for many, many years, the like symbol was owning a sports team.
Yes.
You've made it
For sure.
in, definitely in America, but like we're anywhere, if you own one of the sports teams. This is more exclusive. We're talking literally Richard Branson, Bezos, and Musk own rocket companies. They launch rockets to space, right? So I would put that above sports team.
Yep.
What else sits on the rich guy hierarchy?
So I've given this a lot of thought, and it's, I would agree, like I thought about the sports team thing, and that has been so, in our society, it's been around for so long, just like, okay, that's the indicator. I would say that if you, outside of rockets, any sort of like fleet of transportation, like if a yacht, right? Like that's not billionaire status, but like it's a good indicator. If you're just out here with like a port of yachts or ships or whatever, then that's definitely something.
So I was thinking yacht size though. Like my yacht is bigger than your yacht. Like I think rich guy stuff is like my yacht pulls up to your yacht and I like wave to you, and like my yacht is whatever 20 feet taller and like 100 feet longer, and it's like, oh, nice little schooner you got there, buddy.
Very interesting. To me, I think it's so much more about like the gadgets and shit. Like there are like jetpacks that people can just zip around in, and you know, I think it's less about the like huge impactful like sports teams and more about just like what's integrated into your daily life that is so outside of the norm that like, oh yeah, I just travel from point A on my property to point B with a jetpack. Is there anything specific that you have? Rich guy status outside of like summering somewhere?
So I think in the same category of like the biggest yacht is also like the most exclusive property. So like the best property doesn't go on the market, or it's like never, or it was like acquired through non-public means.
Yes.
So like John Malone owns all this company, all this like country in the Northeast, and he literally had like someone privately go to all the people in the area and like, hey, I'll pay you for your land. Hey, I'll pay you for your land. I think that is up there. And then like also like acreage, like a number of like the biggest billionaires have like more acres than like anyone else on earth.
Yeah.
All right, next question. This is, so in the spectrum of role models, where should we put billionaire, like people like Jeff and Richard B who are flying to space, compared to say sports, music, like these other kind of like cultural. I don't think philanthropists are top status symbols though. Like we don't cover like, man, so and so just sent $5 million to this thing. Like that's not actually leading like CNN.
Artists, musicians, athletes, other cultural icons. Okay. I don't know, because there's definitely something to being known for a particular skill or talent that you've harnessed like over your entire life versus being known as the rich guy. And like, granted, you have to be a wildly successful businessman and or woman and super smart, savvy to get to that point. But I think that for me personally, I tend to look more towards like the artists, the musicians, and characters like that who, it doesn't even have to be like come from nothing and became something. It's just like these are people who are known for what they're constantly like creating and making nothing from something on a daily basis and just have that practice down. I don't know. That's how I generally tend to feel about that.
I don't think it's a problem at all that these characters are put in that same category. I think that people definitely do. I think people like would argue this is like a misallocation of capital. They could, you know, give everyone a basket of fruit instead of like going to space or something like that. But to me, it's I think they were fantastically creative. I think that you know, they've created all these jobs and done all these really powerful like economic things in addition to providing value to people. And I'm in favor of it. I'm in favor of people that have built something like that, particularly not like, you know, been gifted the reins of like the third generation heir to some business empire and like built it themselves. I think that is as hard, if not harder to do than say like make it into the NBA. And I don't see, like, I think that in all of these categories there's still really bad people that shouldn't be role models.
Very true.
But the qualities that are, I would say like the qualities that are engendered to become someone like Jeff Bezos, the discipline, the tireless work ethic, are like basically the same as, you know, Steph Curry. Like Steph Curry's dedication in the gym, Jeff Bezos' dedication to like tinkering with his machine that is a company. I don't really see, like, the meta pattern there is basically the same.
It is. It kind of is. I mean, there is certainly something to the fact that like a musician can create a song and it'll impact a million different people a million different ways, but like Jeff Bezos has created hundreds of thousands of jobs and
like was one of the crucial logistics pieces of infrastructure during the pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Cool.
I think that's all I got.
Nice. Well, let us know how you like this format of the rundown, and we want to shout out one of our commenters from the last video.
We read all the comments.
We read every single comment, even though some of them are mean, but we read every single one. All right, so Vincent commented, please do an evaluation for FXLV and Duolingo, preferably Duolingo first. Thank you, Vincent. Duolingo is coming down the pipeline, so keep an eye out for that. Make sure you turn the bell on for notifications so you're alerted whenever we publish that video.